Hey guys, welcome to today's Legal 101. Being a Tuesday, it's on tax law. Now, what we're talking about today is permanent establishments. There are many non-resident companies, non-resident people who create income within the country, including through businesses carried out over the internet. But today we are going to focus on those who have actually set up something called a permanent establishment here in Kenya. So first and foremost, we need to understand what a permanent establishment is. And under the Income Tax Act, there is a list provided. The list is of course not exhaustive, so I'll just mention a few of the things that have been mentioned there to try and assist people understand what a permanent establishment is. Now, number one, if you have a fixed place of business through which you carry out business wholly or partly, for example, a place of management, a branch, an office, a factory, a workshop, a mine, an oil or gas well, a place where you extract or exploit natural resources, a farm or plantation where agricultural, forestry, plantation or related activities are carried out, a sales outlet, or a warehouse where you provide storage facilities to others, you have a permanent establishment in Kenya. If you have a building site, a construction, assembly, or installation project, or any supervisory activity connected to those things, and you have continued working at that building site for more than 183 days, you have a permanent establishment in Kenya. If you provide consultancy services in Kenya through employees or other personnel for a period of 91 days in a 12-month period, of course commencing 1st January to December 31st, then you have a permanent establishment in Kenya. If you have an installation or structure used in the exploration of natural resources and the exploration continues for a period not less than 91 days, then you have a permanent establishment in Kenya. And lastly, if you have a person who works on your behalf and does activities in Kenya, for example, concluding contracts or playing a principal role leading to the conclusion of a contract, and typically you do not make material modifications to whatever decisions they make, then you have a permanent establishment in Kenya. And the Act goes on to mention that there are certain activities that may be done by a non-resident person, and they will look like somebody's carrying on business in Kenya, but those activities do not necessarily mean that that person has a permanent establishment in Kenya. And there are some examples given. For example, where the non-resident person uses a facility for storage or display of their goods or merchandise, or for the maintenance of their goods and merchandise, even if those goods will eventually be processed by a different enterprise, or they maintain a fixed place of business for the purpose of purchasing goods or merchandise, or for the purpose of collecting information, then in those cases those are not permanent establishments. Now, that permanent establishment may have employees, including non-resident employees, who once they render services to this permanent establishment are paid. So the income that they earn, these employees, is taxable here in Kenya. Number two, the permanent establishments may make certain payments, for example, payments in respect to interest, payment for the use of property, professional fees, and insurance or reinsurance premium, among various payments that are listed under Section 10 of the Income Tax Act. And these payments, when they are made, are deemed to have been accrued or derived in Kenya, meaning they are taxable here in Kenya. Now, in some instances, there are some banks in Kenya which are permanent establishments of non-resident persons. Okay, so when these banks hold outside Kenya any deposit, assets, or property acquired in their operations here in Kenya, the gains or property accruing from those deposits, assets, or property are income derived from or accrued in Kenya, and are therefore taxable in Kenya. And lastly, as a resident person, okay, when you make certain payments which are chargeable to tax to a permanent establishment in Kenya, you must deduct from those payments withholding tax. So it's important for you to understand what these payments are, which means you have to consult with your advocate to understand. And so this legal 101 is not just for foreigners or non-resident persons. It's also for a resident person conducting business here in Kenya and dealing with permanent establishments. So considering this list is not exhaustive, we will be looking at case law as we go along, where the court had to look at the facts and establish whether or not somebody had established a permanent establishment in Kenya, and the income tax implications. So that marks the end of today's Legal 101. See you tomorrow. Bye.